Hi, this is Jerry Sumter, and I figured I would do a quick drawing, or relatively quick drawing today, more or less demonstrating an idea, at least a process, to simplify your drawings, to make it a little bit easier to approach something that might be otherwise somewhat complex, especially for someone who hasn't drawn something like the human head that much, to make it a much more approachable subject matter. So what you'll see is that I'm beginning by drawing out very simple form, and then within that form demarking very lightly the larger shapes that I see in value. So that's what I'm doing right now. Notice that I'm not starting by drawing an eye or the corners of the mouth and the lips or the nostrils. I'll demark where the ear is, for example, but I'm not going to render any detail. Okay? So, in short, the easiest way to keep your work simple is to avoid detail until the end. Work from macro to micro. Anyone who's taken any classes with me so far knows that. I tend to make that one of the primary points early on in learning to draw. And so once I've really lightly demarked where my larger shapes are, go ahead and give them some tone. Okay, keeping it very simple. Again, very excellent portraitist during the 19th century was known to have described a similar process, but drawing the human head and features. And in fact, one of the best known portraitists of all time, John Singer Sargent, that to paint or draw the head, the human head, it's best that it looks like something. I believe his expression was that it should look like it's carved out of wood, or chopped out of wood in a way with an axe. And that sounds kind of extreme, but his point was that there should not be detail. If you were to sculpt a head with an axe and a block of wood, what you would see are large planes. And so that's really what you want to begin with, not lots of detail. So avoid detail at the beginning. I'm just going to put in a little bit of background tone in here so that it's not a head without any sort of relationship to the space around it. It may appear as though I'm, speeding up or something, but really this is just the way that I draw. This is just normal speed. So, in short, or to repeat, if you're successful at this stage, you will actually begin to see oftentimes the person and the likeness of the person before even just a couple of minutes. So you can begin to sort of sense the expression on the face. You can see the countenance. It might not be extremely, for obvious reasons, detailed, but it should be clear enough that you can make out the light source and the shape of the person's primary features. So it's very, very fast. So I'll just begin to very lightly denote where examples such as like the mouth here, where the cheek and the mouth come together. I'm not drawing lips. And just a little bit where the orbit of the eye is situated, just so I can begin to make out a bit more definition, but not detail. Now again, this is one manner of working. This is not something that you need to do, but I figured that it was a good idea to at least give an example of a really quick way to render the human head without getting bogged down in errors. A lot of times if we begin by defining features too early, we'll figure out later that, well, the eye that I drew really well would be great if it were just 1/4 of a centimeter lower or higher or to the left or right. So what we really want to do here is we want to give ourselves that read. We want to be able to really see where the eye goes before we plop it into the socket. It's almost like reverse engineering. And you'll notice when I draw something this small, this is just about 1.5 inches, from top to bottom of the head, maybe 1.25 inches. It's fine to use just a simple sharpened pencil. This is a 2H graphite pencil, standard pencil. If I'm working larger, I'm always sure to sharpen my pencil so that I see at least, a good 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of the pencil lead. And the reason that you really want to have a sharp lead is so that the actual wood of the pencil or the thickness of the pencil doesn't get in your way. Notice that you'll rarely see my hand here because I keep my hand pulled back from the tip of the pencil, because I have to be able to judge my values, and I have to be able to see what I'm doing as I work. So I'm just locking in the shape of the head a little bit more accurately now that I can see the direction and the three-dimensionality of the head. I can begin to compare. Does this really look like the person I want to be drawing? Is the nose in the right place? Does the chin fit the shape of the person's chin that I want to render? So this process keeps it really, really simple to ease into accuracy. Now, working with something like the hairline and the hair itself, you'll notice that I'm giving it, in general, a tone that is consistent with more of the shadow side of the face. The local tone or the local color of the hair in the person I'm rendering is darker than the flesh tones, which is going to not always be the case, but normally be the case. And so you'll want to start there. If you leave, for example, if someone has, brown hair, if they're brunette, or if their hair is black, then you're not really going to have highlights that even come near what the lights are on the flesh tones. So you want to simply give yourself the starting base, or you want to leave no more of the lightness of the paper to have to worry about later. So you just want to give it a general darker tone. I'm just toning it a little bit more of the cheek, connecting it with more of the specifics in the eye socket here, and along the nose. I'm refining the shape of the nose. Now that I can see, the placement, I can begin to place. Okay, so now you'll notice just a little bit of the brow. I can begin to tone in and connect more of the shadow of the eye socket with the surrounding background tone. You can describe this, the process that I'm demonstrating. It actually almost, the way that it develops, it's almost like a Polaroid. You really work from the vague to the specific, the macro to the micro, the large to the small. Again, I'm not focusing on or drawing lips per se. I'm really looking at the larger values. The plane on the top of the nose, the bridge of the nose there. The most important things is to make sure that you are looking at the planes on the head, or really any subject matter you're drawing or painting. If you lose track of the planes and how they fit together, then you're sort of losing everything into a soup. Because, oops, I should probably pull this back to the center. I'm actually holding, I'm just doing this sort of random fashion. I'm holding my phone in my left hand while I draw with my right. So sorry if this gets a little bit out of center. Okay, so now you can tell that since I have my anchors placed, my larger shapes placed, I can begin to fine-tune those shapes and begin to work a little bit more into the specifics. I don't want to go too quickly into them. This is the main thing I wanted to demonstrate, is how to begin a drawing without, in some ways, insinuating the details or the features of the human head too quickly. There's not one way to do this. There are so many ways of drawing the human features, but this is just such a straightforward way to do it. Works really well from life. Pretty much any situation. And I think I'm going to run out of video here. We'll see how much I can continue with. I think I'm going to check to see how much I have. I'll continue working here. We'll see how much I can get finished before I completely run out of video memory. Okay, I have just a couple of minutes left. If I run out, what I'll do is I will snap some just work in progress shots for the finishing points. Really finishing a drawing like this is not nearly as difficult as establishing a really good solid starting point. If you do not start a drawing well, it's very difficult to pull it off and to finish it and have it come out well. You have to start it well, and you need to develop your own way to do it. I'm just giving you one one demonstration here, or sort of a process to simplify things for you. There are so many manners that I draw in myself. This is one of them. This particular idea and procedure really comes out of the 19th century academies. It's rather different than what you will find from Renaissance, Mannerist, and the Baroque periods. And those are also really fun. So you can see I'm beginning to get a little bit more information here. And I guess if there's just one thing I really want to stress, it's simplify what you the forms and the process at the beginning. Don't start with your details. Okay, I'm running out of memory here, so I'll give you the rest of this will be simple shots, work in progress photos. So I'm just continuing to develop my forms, pulling out details bit by bit. finalizing, this is pretty much where I'm going to take it to. So I thank you for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave that for me. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.